Yeah, you know what? I now respect the Sony FX3. It was me. It's not the camera.
Come on, dude. You ever thought of... Look at this.
I know, it's beautiful.
Did you try the Panchro one?
We were shooting sphericals up there.
One of the main things or the main debates we often have is how much does gear matter? How much does it contribute to the final show? You know, some people say the story matters more, which is something that I tend to agree with. But I recently got an opportunity to try out some of the world's most expensive lenses to buy or even to rent on the Sony FX3 just to see what they do. Trying out some of these lenses, I only saw how much limited I have been and how limited my camera has been. You know, when people talk about the creator, the movie they created and how they used the Sony FX3 to shoot it, people rarely talk about the core lenses that they used to shoot it with. When I went to test out these lenses, I soon learned what the Sony FX3 can do. We'll be going through some of them. First off, we'll be starting off with the Cookes. So now we're at the Cooke S4s. For me, the Cooke S4s, it's one of my favorite looks. This is when I went into the rental house, what I was expecting to come out with. I was planning on using it. So the reason we went there was for a short film that I was prepping. So I wanted to use the Cooke S4s, and then they just encouraged me to look at other lenses, not just to use one that I had seen in a movie. And for me, I could, you know, looking at this, you can tell why I liked it. Like, it just gives you, there's just something about the Cooke look and how skin tones just look perfect without any color grading, without doing much, you know. And like I said, you know, in all these videos, just know that we have one lighting source and it's coming from the left, camera left. And imagine with more lighting, with atmospheric, with haze, the amount of things that you can do, you know. And that's why I'm like, I think we know that gear doesn't matter. We know that gear, you know, it's about the person behind it, but it doesn't hurt having some of the world's best gear to create some of the world's best images. The close-ups, man, when we're doing these close-ups, like, I've never seen this, like, mainly because I use photo lenses and I've never seen it, especially just the quality that you have, you know, from the camera itself in terms of what it's capturing. And I think for me, if I was to invest in anything, it would be invest in your lenses, you know, because, man. So just looking at this, we have the Cooke Anarmophic. One thing that I like is, you know, in most times when you use an anamorphic lens, it creates that, you know, those black bars. And for this one, because the lens we were using is for Super 35, so it wasn't covering the full frame of the Sony FX3, we ended up being able to fill the frame by just zooming in. But one thing that I like about it is when you look at how I look when I come close or even when I'm far, and just how much less lighting you need based on just the lens. So right now we only have one single source of the light, which I'll show in the video of where the light was coming from in this room, where it was just coming from the door and there was a little light there. And just how these lenses are able to perform, it's ridiculous, man. Like, you know, I'm one of those people who likes to talk about ways in which you can remake movies or you can do stuff. It's almost impractical, you know, because you're competing with $80,000 camera with another $100,000 lens, you know, and the picture quality that these people get and the expertise behind it. One thing that's very beautiful about these expensive cameras is the flares that come out of these lenses, man. It's ridiculous. This lens is well worth every amount that you have to pay to use it. I once edited a film that was made in Anamorphic and I didn't like it because I had to de-squeeze it and it was a horror show, you know. So I haven't been a fan of Anamorphic ever since, just because of that. I know it's quite easy, a lot of people, how to de-squeeze once you know it. But another challenge that why I don't really like anamorphic lenses is just
your framing. You know, you have limited option or you have maximum option, so you're now relying a lot on production design because you have to fill those frames. The frame is super wide and you have to fill that frame with interesting stuff. Otherwise, what's the point of having an anamorphic? So that's why for me, I'm not really a big fan. I like spherical lenses because I think just because I mainly use these photo lenses and that's all I have, and I've created an eye for it, which, you know, everyone has their own preferences. But yeah, I mean, you can see just the quality, the difference in amount of quality that these lenses have. And then here we're testing out the Leicas. But one thing that you want to look at is the colors. How are different colors reacting, you know? So when you do go for your lens testing, it's more about how will different colors react and how will different things look like, you know? And I think that's just something that makes me beautiful.
Ooh, baby. God damn. You're recording this?
Yeah.
How much are the Leicas? Might just get this.
Like for me, the Summicrons are really awesome.
These are vintage lenses. I'm not really a big fan of vintage lenses. I like modern lenses. I like this digitally clean. I know people say, oh, this is too clean, but for me, there's something in that. I like that digital texture of video. Like I like that. I like those type of movies. I think mainly because some of my favorite movies are probably the Marvels, and I like the idea of just having CGI and stuff like that to help tell a story, and I've fallen in love with them. But you know, for people who like this, like, look at this, man. I think these are the Lomos. I don't really remember, but either way, just the way they capture skin tones, man. Like I even look handsome in these shots. And these are the Sigma Cine lenses that we're trying out now. So these are clean lenses. So one of my favorite lenses is the Zeiss, and the great alternative for them is the Sigma lenses.
Coming from Sigma, because I use the Sigma photo lenses, I really like the Sigma look, like just in general, how these lenses look. They're just clean lenses, you know. People say they have no character, they have no anything to them, and for me that works because that means I get to add that character. I get to do that. Like I don't have to rely on the tool that I'm using to create that style that I want, you know. And I think there's more room. So I really like the Sigma Cine lenses, you know.
That is called terrible focusing, my man.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
But ooh, that me? Mama, is that me?
Mom. Back up! That's me? Yeah!
I was on set for Virgin River and I noticed those were the lenses that they used as well, so which is pretty cool, you know. But I also understand when people say they like character and they like this and that. And one thing that when I was at the rental house, they were telling me was, you know, if you don't have a budget for the Zeiss Supreme Primes, this is a very good alternative for them at a very cheaper price, and you can do crazy stuff with them, you know, and you don't have to blow your budget. But other than that, you know, I know that when it comes to this, people will tell you this goes T this and whatever. I don't really care about the technicals. For me, it's always about what sort of image can I get out of the equipment that I have.
And then my favorite lens is the Zeiss 85. Like, I've not seen anything like this in my life, man. I've not seen anything like this. I've not experienced cinema as this. And the more that I go on film sets nowadays, you know, whether I'm an extra or a PA or whatever that I'm doing on set, I see cinematographers using these lenses and I just think to myself, I see why you chose that, because I would have chosen that myself, you know. That's pretty much it.
For me, hands down, this is my favorite lens, the Zeiss. I fell in love with the Zeiss. I believe it was the 75 or 85. I fell in love with this lens from the first day that I saw it, to a point whereby no other lens does it for me, you know. I remember listening to this Taylor Swift song where she says, "From the first time I saw you, I could never look at anyone else." That's That's me and this lens, man. Like the way it's clean, the way it just captures the reality, you know. There's not much that you have to do. You know. With a lens like this, man, lighting is your dream. You can paint with light. You can do
That's a close-up. That's how we make.
whatever. Like Zeiss doesn't need me to preach the gospel on their products. Their products are amazing and I love them. You know, people tell me like, oh, they have no character, there's nothing. But for me, there's just something beautiful when I look at this image, when I look at myself, when I look at, you know, stuff that's shot on this. A lot of commercials are shot on the Zeiss lenses and there's a reason they look that beautiful, you know, and you can do amazing things. A friend that I was with really loves the Lomos. Me, I'm not a fan. I didn't know much about the Lomos, so we ended up testing them, and you know, it's a crazy lens, man. These are vintage lenses like from the 70s, and you just like, what the hell is going on at this point, man? For me, I was pretty much impressed with the light performance from these things.
Is this light coming from? Oh, it's the window. Shish. I've been trying to copy this lighting when it's not even.
No, honestly.
Because like we only had one light source, you know, and it was unbelievable what I was seeing. You know, the amount of work that I have to do with photo lenses in terms of lighting, and you don't even get anything as close as to this, to whereby at this point you're literally relying on your exposure triangle to get the best picture, not necessarily to avoid noise, you know, and that is amazing. So when you think about a camera like the FX3, like just think about what you pair it with, you know, because you can do amazing work with these cameras, man, if you invest in the right equipment. All right, these are the Arri signature primes. Yes, this is what I'm going for. So now we're checking out the Arri signature primes. Listen, for me, this rental company, man, they did amazing work with me when I was there, just giving me an opportunity to even touch these lenses. Cause like I never dreamt of ever one day touching anything Arri, but when I was at this place, man, they let me dream, they let me live. It was like being a kid in a candy store. What this lens does, you know, is the same sort of with the Zeiss, just a little bit different. But the main thing is, look at my skin, bro. Like, look at everything. Like, little work is done on these things, and the amount of depth and quality you get out of them, you know, that's what makes them special. That's the thing, you know. And when you think about the movies that these things are used in, and when you think about, just look at the close-up, like, bro, I've never felt this happy in my life to be close to something beautiful, this beautiful. These lenses just do it for me, you know. Once again, like, you can't compare this to a photo lens, you know. And then at this point, we're back at the Cooke. So these are the Cooke Panchros, Cooke Anarmophic Panchros. Man, they're ridiculous lenses. This is what movies are made of, you know. This stuff is basically how you're making a movie, and don't let anybody tell you that gear doesn't matter. Gear does matter. Gear does dictate everything that you're doing, you know. It showcases the difference. There's a difference between a $200 million movie and a $12 million and whatever. We can do our best to try and give the audience the same experience and create cinematic experience. But if you can afford and you have access to the best gear, I would say invest in your final video. If I ever got a budget, I'll put all the money into the film and just give the best that I can, because it's ridiculous what you can do and how the pictures that you create can outlive you.
I know a lot of times people say equipment doesn't matter, gear doesn't matter, this and that. But truthfully, as I've developed and as I've had access to different types of gear does matter. It helps you with your storytelling just in terms of the packaging. You know, it's like saying when it comes to packaging, the packaging doesn't matter. What matters is what's inside. And that is very true. But what happens is if you go to Apple, you start to appreciate packaging, you know, you appreciate it and it's an experience, you know. And I think that's the one thing. Like you want to focus on the main thing, which is the story, the writing, and also just the creativity that you can create around what you have. But if you have an opportunity and you can afford it, I'd recommend going to your local rental company and just seeing what sort of deal they can give you to get some of these things and just shoot, you know. But I wouldn't say like, oh, I can't make my films because I cannot afford a Zeiss lens, you know, like stuff like that. But I'll keep shooting. I'll keep working with what I have. But it's also good just to see what the camera can do, having an FX3 and limiting it to my photo lenses. You know, it's sad, but I hope one day to be able to afford to purchase a Cine lens and just be able to showcase some of the things that the camera can do and which helps to expand what I can do creatively. You know, I think that's what lenses give you, and that's what different gear and equipment does give you. You always want to have the balance of, you know, what helps you forward, what helps you move you forward in terms of your visual language. And also, like, one day when, I don't know what your ambition and goals are, but if you want to work on these big sets, you don't want to show up and be like, you know what I mean? It's about that. I think in this world, it's about exposure. It's just about putting yourself ahead. So I hope you took some things from this video and you start to understand how much leeway or what the range of your camera is. You know, there's a limit. You know, cameras are just tools, and there's a right tool for each job depending on whatever you're trying to do. For me at this point in time, the FX3 does an amazing job for the work that I want to do. And just testing all these lenses, it gives you something to dream about. But at the end of the day, you're not making film for filmmakers, you know. You're making film to make people feel something, and that's something that you want to think about when you're testing our lenses. It's all about how do different skin types react, what happens when you have a white person and a black person in the same shot. How does the lens reflect? So that's the importance of just trying out different lenses and seeing what they do. In our next video, we'll be talking about my trip to Panavision and just showing you guys some of the things that we got to play with. You know, being a cinematographer for me has been fun. It's opened different doors that I never thought would be opened, and you know, it allows you to dream, and you're like, wow, once the budgets get bigger, we'll be doing crazy things. But we won't wait for the budgets to get bigger. We'll be shooting and making stuff that we want to make. Let me know in the comment section to you, on which table do you lie? Gear does matter, gear does not matter, or are you in between? See you next time.